Senator from Arizona.
Madam President, I rise today to give my maiden speech as the 14th senator to represent our great state of Arizona. It is an honor to be serving Arizona in the United States Senate and humbling to be appointed to serve in the seat held by Senator John McCain. Like most of my life, I didn't take the traditional path, but I am blessed to have been given the opportunity to make a difference for others and stand in this historic chamber today. I love Arizona, the Grand Canyon state, its people and our spirit. Like many Arizonans, I wasn't born there, so this is a love of choice. Also, like many Arizonans, I first came to this state on a military assignment in the summer of 1990 to attend pilot training at Williams Air Force Base, now home to a thriving industrial park called Mesa Gateway. I fell in love with Arizona right away and was fortunate to have the majestic view from the sky as a pilot. What a privilege to live in a land of adventure I'd only read about as a kid. Home to one of the 7 natural wonders of the world in the Grand Canyon, and our diverse landscapes, mountains, canyons, lakes, rivers, sunsets, and the powerful desert lightning. After an assignment away, I came back to Arizona to fly the A-10 Warthog at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. I can tell you from experience, there is nothing quite like finishing a demanding training mission on the Barry Goldwater Air Force Range and having a near heavenly view of Arizona's beautiful red sunsets. It isn't only our climate and beautiful landscapes that make Arizona a great place to live and work. We Arizonans are known for our fierce independence, our resilience, hardiness, hard work, faith, and diversity. It's this legacy of service and patriotism that transcends generations. They say the best comes last, and that couldn't be true when it comes to Arizona. We were the last in the continental United States to become a state in 1912 and have a history of attracting adventurous, hardworking people searching to live out their dreams. Our state motto is Ditat Deus, or God enriches, highlighting the importance of faith in God in our past and our future. The original foundation of our economy is known as the 5 C's: copper, cattle, cotton, citrus, and climate. Today, we still have Morenci Mine, the largest copper producer in North America, which I recently visited. Arizona has made history in our own unique way. We're known around the world for the famous town of Tombstone and the legendary OK Corral. We gave women the right to vote 8 years before the whole nation and are the proud home to Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman ever to serve on the Supreme Court. Arizona has always proudly hosted and supported our troops and remains crucial for our defense. Our vast open land, beautiful weather, and airspace makes our state a national security treasure. And Arizonans have always answered the call to serve in uniform and support our vets. Arizona is the home to 22 federally recognized tribes and has the largest percentage of tribal geography in any state. The old Arribi Hopi village is the oldest continuously inhabited settlement in the country, started around 1000 AD. And Piestewa Peak is named after specialist Lori Ann Piestewa, the first Native American woman to die in combat while on foreign soil while serving in the U.S. military. Arizona has a history of punching above our weight with elected leaders. Carl Hayden was our first congressman turned senator who served 56 years and secured funding for the Central Arizona Project to support our water needs. Raul Castro was the first Latino governor of Arizona and served as U.S. ambassador to multiple countries. And we are home to two Senate heavyweights, Barry Goldwater, who served 5 terms, and John McCain, who served 6 terms in this chamber. I approached this opportunity to serve in the Senate the same way I approached my 26 years in the Air Force, as a fighter pilot, and my 4 years in the House. I lost my father at the age of 12, so my life was shaped early on to be treating each day as a gift. In the hospital, shortly before he died, my dad told me to make him proud. My journey to this chapter of service has not been an easy one, but I learned from my dad and my mom, who was left behind with 5 kids, that hard work, education, and faith, and a mindset of service to others are unfailing foundations for any endeavor in life. When I retired from the Air Force, having served both in peace and war, I gave a speech, and I shared some principles and lessons I learned along the way that still ring true today for this new deployment here to the Senate. First, know your oath. The oath that I took on January 3rd as a U.S. Senator is the same oath, the same exact wording as the one I took as a military officer. The oath and what it represents is what those of us who served in the military were willing to fight for, and if necessary, die for. During my 8-year battle with the Pentagon over their policy requiring U.S. servicewomen to be treated like property and wear the Muslim burqa like coverings over them when they were off base in Saudi Arabia, I often felt alone and discouraged. There was extraordinary pressure telling the top 4-star brass that they were outrageously wrong. And me, a lowly ranking major, had every reason to believe my career would be cut short for taking on the establishment over what I believed was wrong. At the most anguishing moments in that long fight, I had to ground myself in my oath and why I placed service above self. We were taught as cadets and officers that moral courage means doing the right thing, even if it comes at a great personal cost to you. Trust me, I was tested, but stayed the course. Subsequently, I sued Donald Rumsfeld, which we can probably agree on both sides of the aisle is not a good career move. Nonetheless, I went on a one-woman lobbying campaign as a regular citizen, which led to legislation being passed unanimously, signed into law, and resulted in overturning this demeaning discriminatory policy. It took 8 years to win, but by all measures, it was worth it. I credit that oath. It gave me purpose. It gave me power. And enabled one woman, opposed by the entire Department of Defense, to endure and, as a result, change the world. So this is how I plan to serve Arizona in this body, standing up for what's right in the same fighting spirit that comes with living up to my oath of service. Next, the question is this a job, a career, or a calling? A job brings a paycheck, provides certainty, and pays the bills. A career can sound noble at its surface, but if someone is only focused on a career path and advancement, they can purposefully or inadvertently step on others, not be a good teammate, not rock the boat, to do the right thing, make decisions based on fear. A career focus can foster risk aversion and selfish motives. A calling, however, is being a part of something greater than yourself. And just like my time in uniform and in that message I gave at my retirement, I approach my time here in the Senate as a calling. For this season and this moment in time, I get up every day with the focus of what can I do today to make a difference for Arizonans. Next, don't walk by a problem. It's part of our military culture. If you're complaining about something, you better be willing to step up and do something about it. God puts us in certain circumstances in order for us to use our energy and our talents to make a difference for others. That's how I went from yelling at the television in my living room to delivering this speech in the hallowed chamber today. As I learned from my dad's untimely passing, if these 2 years are the last 2 years of my life, what will I do with them? How can I make this time truly meaningful for those I represent? The Senate was created to be the world's most deliberative body and designed to be methodical in nature, but it wasn't designed for anonymous holds or partisan bickering to score cheap political points or clicks on stories. I built a reputation in the House for being a pragmatic problem solver who understands why constituents send people to Washington to work together, to increase opportunity and prosperity for everyday Americans, and to take a stand when actions go against their best interests. Far too often, too many elected officials lose sight of that goal. During my retirement ceremony, I concluded with this quote from a renowned fighter pilot named John Boyd. He says, "One day you will come to a fork in the road, and you're going to have to make a decision about which direction you want to go." He raised his hand and pointed. "If you go that way, you can be somebody. You'll have to make compromises, you'll have to turn your back on friends, but you'll be a member of the club, and you'll get promoted, and you'll get good assignments." Then Boyd raised his other hand, pointed in another direction. "Or you can go that way, and you can do something. Something for your country, and for your Air Force, and for yourself. If you decide you want to do something, you may not get promoted. You may not get the good assignments. You certainly won't be a favorite of your superiors. But you won't have to compromise yourself. You'll be true to your friends and yourself, and your work might make a difference. To be somebody or to do something. In life, it's often the roll call. That's when you'll have to make a decision, to be or to do. Which way will you go? That question is what should be posed to all of us who serve in this chamber today. It's no secret my path is to take action and do something. And I'd ask my fellow senators to join me with this precious time we've been given. I already know so many of you feel the same and are driven to serve. Let's point in the direction of do. You know, there's only 1,983 people have served as United States senators. How many can you name As for me, but a fraction. Except for a few extraordinary exceptions, no one is going to remember our names when we're no longer here. We'll go back to being regular citizens, so it's about service now, not self, to do something that matters. Arizonans, like people all over the country, are tired of the gridlock. They want Congress to work for them, not the other way around. Many people here want to protect this institution, but the American people have basically lost faith in these bodies and those serving in them. Our approval rating is pathetically low and is likely credited to family members and paid staff. To point the direction of John Boyd's challenge of doing something, we must commit today to stop the dysfunction, break the gridlock, stop spinning, stop obstructing, start truly working on behalf of the American people. Yes, we live in divided times, but there is always more that unites us than divides us. Since I took this oath on January 3rd, my first mission in the Senate was to visit all 15 counties in Arizona to listen to my constituents' priorities and challenges. It was a 2 ears and 1 mouth tour, used proportionally. Despite the diversity of our state, there was tremendous common ground on so many major issues and priorities. Arizonans want us to promote policies to ensure if they work hard, they'll be able to provide for their families, get ahead, and meet their full potential. They want to make sure our country is safe for them and their children. They want a life of dignity and respect for one another. They want us to give our military men and women everything they need to do their mission and take care of them and their families when they're done serving. That's why I'm going to continue to fight to protect the A-10 Warthog at Davis Mountain and fight for the F-35 at Luke Air Force Base, plus other amazing military installations that we have and their unique missions in Arizona. And it's why, since taking office, I've visited numerous veteran service organizations, like U.S. Vets, where I heard real stories from veterans who struggle with homelessness and addiction, who've since been helped off the street and been able to start a new life for themselves. Arizonans want us to solve the border crisis and stop playing political games with it, a crisis all too real like cities like Yuma. I saw firsthand there where over 300 migrants illegally cross the border due to poor infrastructure and lack of resources for agents. Or like Douglas and Nogales, where outdated facilities leave agents overwhelmed with volume and leave our country vulnerable to illegal trafficking of drugs or people. Arizonans want us to work together to bring down the out-of-pocket cost of health care and allow patients, families, and doctors, not the government or insurance companies, to make health care choices for them. We can do this by protecting pre-existing conditions and supporting initiatives like association health plans, which allow groups like the Southern Arizona Chamber of Commerce Association to partner small businesses together to access health insurance plans that right now only big companies can. Lives will be saved with the medical innovations that's happening in my state. Arizona is home to many institutions that are leading the way to find new treatments and cures for deadly diseases. When I visited the Ivy Brain Tumor Center, I was inspired by the story of Catherine Ivy, whose husband Ben passed away from glioblastoma, the same deadly cancer that took the life of Senator McCain. Instead of being consumed with her grief, Catherine searched all over the world for the best place to invest and partner for groundbreaking innovation to conquer this disease. She found it at the Barrow Neurological Institute, right there in her own state of Arizona. Dr. Nadir Sinai and his team are doing amazing work and leading on cutting-edge research and clinical trials. We need more investments and less barriers for initiatives like this. Arizonans want us to continue to tackle the opioid epidemic that is disproportionately impacting our rural communities. During my 15-county tour, I met Jason Couts, the mayor of Safford, who shared the senseless death of his son, Josiah, whose family lost to an opioid addiction. His life and all of its potential tragically ended with a fentanyl-laced heroin dose. We mourn for his family and pledge to end this crisis. Arizonans want us to smartly invest in infrastructure for the long haul, not in a one-size-fits-all approach. What they need in New Jersey is not necessarily what we need in Arizona. We need flexibility and partnerships with states. Cities in both the West and East Valley of Maricopa County have been tasked with the daunting feat of keeping up with the fastest population growth in the country, but not the resources to modernize their streets and freeways. We need bipartisan solutions to modernize our infrastructure and include water infrastructure and rural broadband. Arizonans want us to ensure that our freedoms and opportunities are preserved for their children and their grandchildren. They want us to ensure that seniors can have retirement security after working their whole lives. We can solve some of these problems in the days ahead if we choose to work together and do something bigger for those we all serve. At this moment in history, as John Boyd said, we're at a fork in the road, and we have a choice. Be someone or do something. I choose to act for those I serve. I know you do too. So let's get to work for the nation. As Senator McCain once said, Americans never quit. We never surrender. We never hide from history. We make history. Madam President, I yield the floor.